Episode 8 of Digital Circus just dropped and it revealed a lot of crazy shit that suggests what we're in for with this episode. What's up guys, it's Willie, and Glitch Productions just posted the trailer for the upcoming 8th episode of Amazing Digital Circus. And a lot of crazy things have been revealed to inform us what this episode is suggesting. So likewise, I'm gonna break down scene by scene throughout this trailer and give a few theories on what could happen by the end of the video. And so right off the bat, we have this very old style title sequence that shares the story of a lover with no heart, which is obviously speaking the volume to Caine. And just right away, this episode just screams out to be a very Caine-centric episode, especially just coming out of episode 7, where he has completely severed his relationship with the cast after the diabolical adventure he created, which the title cards themselves elegantly captures Caine's characteristics, being this AI who ruins stuff for others in any attempt to impress them, which his exploitation of his magic just continues to push them away. And after that little story outline, we finally cut to some actual scenes that are spliced together to create this montage of insanity that is going to unfold. So let's highlight frame by frame what was unfolding. We see that Caine is trying all his work to appease the cast, but they are just not being receptive to him. And knowing how much Caine really wants to find that validation, it seems like he's losing all of his shtick, which we see frames of the circus beginning to slowly glitch out. So then we skip to a scene that I should highlight, this being an image that was leaked earlier by Goose, where just shows Raggeda looking across from Caine on a stage. And to be completely honest, this one did not feel as present in my mind compared to the Jack sleep for episode 7, because that one had a lot more explicit gravity to it, just feeling like we got a lot to really suggest on what would potentially happen, while this one kind of just gives off nothing exciting, but it's still something that kind of gets recontextualized after this trailer, which I will discuss more in my theories part by the end of this video. So next we cut to a very interesting shot of Jax holding a hot chocolate mug that, if you don't recall, in episode 7 would be the same mug that he would be having with his now abstracted friends in the likes of Ribbit and Kaufmo. And speaking of, if you pay more attention to the image, you could see a shadowy figure that resembles the shape of Ribbit's head. So at this point, it's speaking volume to the potential theme of what this episode is contextualizing, which would be memories. And this is a pretty exciting aspect to potentially now see the abstracted characters have a physical appearance, which would be a pretty elegant dynamic to what we have on the show so far. So next we skip over to a shot of the cast falling to the ground, and this could go either ways. A, it could be immediately after episode 7 where Caine teleports them back to the main area of the circus, or B, this could be Caine now messing with the cast after they refuse to associate with him in any way. And this can be linked to another scene that seemingly is the aftermath of it, where they're all seemingly looking at Caine with a very unpleasant expression. Then a portal opens up behind them, which could be Caine's way of enticing them for another adventure. Meanwhile, in between these shots, we have one brief scene of Zubul running, where there can be a lot surrounding this, though I wouldn't put too much of my expectations high, because back in the episode 7 trailer, there was a similar shot of Zubul seemingly in an unpleasant situation, only for that to turn out to be the beginning of the episode, so I'm not going to bet my money on that. So next we got a montage of shots of the cast's concerned looks, but among these shots are perspectives of Raggeda and Jax looking at their hands, and this is just continuing to elucidate that the plot has something to do with memories. And talking about Raggeda specifically, the shot of her looking at her hands and where she's stationed at is clearly her on the stage, and this is what could be linked up with that scene of her and Caine looking at each other. Perhaps it felt like maybe it was Raggeda's first arrival at the circus, which is why she looked like to be having this more complex expression when first eyeing at Caine instead of the usual neutral feeling she has. But then after that, we have a brief scene of Kinger and Caine alone, and connecting with another scene that came later on with Caine teleporting with Kinger. That could be a sign of something where Caine is clearly bringing Kinger along somewhere where they could be alone. And taking account to when Kinger finally got more comprehensible and brought up the first abstraction in Scratch, there's a serious chance that he could start confronting Caine about his antics with messing with others that causes these fatal misfortunes to occur. This is something that has a lot in stake. So after that, we see multiple clones of Bubble surrounding Caine's office, which could be the chance of Bubble himself messing with Caine for the sake of his distressing situation. And then the most unique of them all, Kinger's abstracted wife Queenie slowly walking right into the frame, where we're only seeing the side of her red gown. But it is like what I said, how much this episode is evoking what appears to be past memories for our cast, and I already had touched upon that with Jax. And since it's an identical case with Kinger, though I'll say his perplexed expression does open another possibility surrounding this that I'll elaborate more on my theories. Then we have the short shot of Pomni having her mouth zipped, which recalling in episode 5 time, Caine tried to zip up Zubul, but it wouldn't be a success as Zubul didn't have a mouth. So this might be a bit of a contrast with Pomni because she does have a mouth, which would make Caine's proxy of the zipper a success this time. And yes, this could also stem from Pomni just starting to get confrontational with him too, and Caine wanting to put silence on that. And our last remaining shots involve making his attempts to impress the cast with like his own stand-up, a video to show, and then a car crashing, which the visual of this is unique because it is a clear nod to Jax's real world situation with the whole vehicle flashbacks. And that scenery seems like Caine is trying to manifest something from the outer world to appeal to Jax specifically, which I don't even think that would be a good choice since how unpleasant Jax was feeling when those flashbacks got to his mind. Following that, we had shots of the office, which who knows what relevance it's going to have in the episode. A perplexed Pomni who proceeds to show an expression of shock. And then finally to our last scene with Caine explicitly saying, let's get this show on the road. Yeah, let's get the theories on the road too. Yeah, we've got until March 20th to sell out our speculation and ideas of what this episode is indicating. As some of you may know, Goose herself revealed that this was an episode that she liked and labeled it as fun, which is a very interesting one. But also I should blend it with that one meetup with the voice acting cast who revealed that the later episodes will get much darker. So blend of that with the fun elements to this episode does sound very exciting for me. The trailer itself was really cool and revealed quite a lot that makes me feel intrigued, as we are centering on the story of Caine trying to rectify all the ruins he has inflicted on the cast, but seemingly not panning out in his favor, which could be resulting into the loss of the stability with the circus. And also, I haven't mentioned this, that the thumbnail of Caine in front of an exit of a sky backdrop is reference to the Truman Show, which to emphasize, the story was focused on the main character who was unknowingly trapped inside a fake reality show, which is exactly on par with the cast stuck in this digital world. We're really getting down to it with how the show could conclude, and what we're getting could be the foundation of everything collapsing around Caine, especially with, at the end of episode 7, establishing the cast's immorality with him. Now to dwell on some theories on where I think this episode is directing. So my first theory is that we may be getting flashback to each character's past moment of when they first entered the circus, as we saw shots of the likes of Ragida and Jack's perspective when they were looking at their own hands. And speaking of Ragida specifically, this is a feasible case as it does connect well with that one shot of her standing on the stage in front of Kinger, which could further evoke that the timeline was based on a memory and such sort. So it'd be a pretty unique case where we're having a blast from the past themed episode here. So that's the likelihood of what it might be suggesting through some of the shots that we see spliced together. Now, what could hold me back with this is that this could be taking a lot away from Caine's potential agency in the episode, as the rest of the trailer did elicit that he's going to have a lot more of an impact. So while I do think there is a feasible case for this theory, I just think personally among the ones that I had thought of, this is definitely on the bottom of the likelihood in that one. So then that takes us to the secondary, where Caine, out of desperation of trying to appeal to the cast, creates NPCs of the previously abstracted characters, especially the ones who were really close with the characters. And this is very viable, as I bet your frames really suggest that, as we see that with like Kinger being approached by Queenie. While it is ambiguous as we're only seeing a bit of her clothing, it is still a very likely spot, especially with something what Caine would do. And while at the same time it could be like what my first theory was with the whole flashback thing, and that could be the case, it's not out of the realm possibility that this could also be Caine manufacturing NPC resemblance, especially when you look at Kinger's expression in this image feeling linked to how he would be feeling right after the events of episode 7. But then that takes us to my final theory. We're recalling when we had that scene of a portal opening up behind the cast. There's a possibility that Caine, while still trying to find his way to make up to them, sends them through that portal that brings them into a world of memories and flashbacks, as I would personally feel like his proxy of an adventure. And that is totally apt with the stage of the cast not being trustful of Caine after the events of last episode, which with an upset grouping put Caine in such dire need to seek for that impressive element to please them, and this is not something that is out of a possibility linked with the current state of the situation. But yeah, as a whole, I speculate that the adventure will probably end with the cast still not really being as pleased with what Caine tried to offer up to them, thus leading to Caine himself entering into a stage of distress that's probably linked to those scenes of the circus beginning to glitch out. And this is all I could really theorize with everything that has been revealed to us so far. But anyways, that wraps up the video. Feel free to drop what your personal theories is in the comments below, and likewise mark your calendars, because we'll see all this play out March 20th. Got nothing else to say except just tap like and subscribe for more. Gonna see you all in the next video.